So what you might not have known from watching me and my wife's channel is that I am an author. And there would be no way for you to know that because I haven't posted anything about books. I wrote a novel and it came out last summer with Vintage Books, Penguin Random House. Now, this is not really a shameless plug today. I actually want to talk about a different book and how it relates to this book in a really cool, interesting way. Craft, Stories I Wrote for the Devil by Ananda Lima. First of all, this is the greatest title of all time. This book came out right around the same time that my book came out. I read this book and I absolutely fell in love with it. It is a body of work comprised of short stories and a narrative that links these stories together. Now, if you read Please Stop Trying to Leave Me, it also uses short stories and it also has another narrative. In my book, I have a narrative that takes place in therapy sessions. And then the character is writing short stories and you get to read those short stories. So weird. Two books that came out around the same time are utilizing two different narratives to create a complete body of work. But the really cool thing is that while we both use two different narratives and we use short stories, we use them in almost the inverse way of each other. Let me explain. In Please Stop Trying to Leave Me, the bones and body of the story takes place in the main narrative, which are the therapy sessions. The short stories are used to then inform the main narrative. Now in Craft, the way I read it is that the bones and the body of the work are actually the short stories, and she uses this other narrative of the narrator and the devil to inform the short stories. So you see how the short stories are being used to do different things. It's really interesting that they both came out at the same time. They both talk about writers and writers writing a story. They're really cool to read if you have a book club, maybe read them back to back. If you're curious about experimental fiction, if you like storytelling and books that go against narrative norms, these might be good reads for you. And I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on how they're similar and how they're different, and what in the collective consciousness had them come about at the same time.